In this module, we're going to do a lot of work with what I call the ing tenses. Now, in level 4, we already went through the present ing, and if you're in any doubt about that module, now would be a really good time to go back and quickly revise it, because we're going to be doing a lot of work now with this tense. So just to give you a quick summary, we can have hablar, which is the verb to talk, and we can convert that into hablando, which they use for talking. So there you have your ing, hablando. And you can have an ando or an yendo sound, depending if the verb is an AR verb or not an AR verb. So we take those endings, ando and yendo, and we match them with the verb estar. So you can have estoy, estás, está, estamos, and están. For example, to say I'm talking, literally meaning right now I'm in the process of talking, it would be estoy hablando. And then you would simply change the angles. So you are talking, meaning right now would be estás hablando, or he's talking, she's talking, it's talking, está hablando. We are talking, estamos hablando. They are talking, están hablando. And all the time, it's representing or meaning that right now you're in the process of doing that particular action. If we take another verb, say the verb to go out, salir, then here's where we get the yendo sound. So salir goes to saliendo. So we could say, I'm right now going out. It would be estoy saliendo. And again, you just move through all the angles, like estás saliendo, you're right now going out, or he, she, it, and so forth. It works in exactly the same way. Then say if we take the verb to eat, it will be comer. So that goes to comiendo. Again, you can see it's important here that if we have an AR verb, it goes to an ando sound. So hablar, hablando. But if we don't have an AR verb, for example, salir ending in IR, we get the yendo sound instead. Starting here, yendo. So you have saliendo, and the same thing happening with comer. Even though it's an ER verb, not IR, it still takes on that same ending. So you really only have two key sounds. You have ando or yendo. So sticking with comer, again, you could say I am eating, and that would be estoy comiendo, meaning right now I'm in the process of doing that action. So again, if you feel that you've forgotten some of that, I would think it a very good idea to go back and actually revise that module called the present ing in level 4 before going any further with this particular module. Now, so far we've done the present ing, so actions that are happening right now in the present, but there's also a past ing, and that is very easy to get. Instead of estoy and estás, está, we go into the line past. So you'd have estaba, estabas, estaba, estábamos, and estaban. So for example, to say I was talking, instead of I am talking, but I was talking, it would be estaba hablando. So let's look at the change here. We have estoy hablando, meaning right now I'm talking, but estaba hablando, meaning I was talking. Now, there's a very important question here about when would you use that particular tense. Because if you notice, we have I was talking, we could express that with hablaba. I mean, that's what we've been taught that it means, right? So like this, hablaba, I was talking. So the thing is to know when you would use hablaba, like we have been up to now in the course, and when instead would you use estaba hablando, because they both mean I was talking. You'll actually find this past ing tense being used a lot with storytelling, and in a very particular way. So I have an example sentence for you here. I was walking down the street when I realized I didn't have my wallet. So we have kind of two facets to this sentence. In the first part, we're saying I was walking down the street. It's setting the scene that that was the action that was happening, that was ongoing when this other thing happened. The key word here is when, kind of putting a divider between those two parts. So here we have the background, okay, setting the scene, and this is more like the action. A line and a dot in the past, being separated by this word when. Now, you could say, let's translate it right here. You could say, so I was walking down the street. Caminaba. You have caminar and caminaba for I was walking. But it sounds much more natural in Spanish to say estaba caminando. So here you have the was ing tense. So estaba caminando por la calle, down the street, along the street. And here we have our when, cuando. I realized, me di cuenta, that I didn't have my wallet, que no tenía mi cartera. This type of sentence here, this past ing tense sounds much more natural than saying caminaba. Let's do the full verb here. So we have caminar, to walk, and caminaba means I was walking. And if you put it that way, yes, you would be understood, fine, no problem. They wouldn't have any problems understanding you, but it wouldn't sound natural to their kind of native Spanish speaking ears, if you want to put it that way. What you hear all the time is that they switch into this estaba caminando. Let's fix this here. Estaba caminando por la calle. This means, because we're telling a story, we're saying this particular action was ongoing at the time when this thing happened to me. So I'll say that again. This particular action, whatever it is, was ongoing at the time when this other thing happened to me. This is the kind of structure of the sentence where it sounds much more natural to use this line ing tense that we're going to be practicing. And obviously it's very easy to change the angle, because you could say, you were walking, estabas caminando por la calle, when I realized I didn't have my wallet. It doesn't sound quite right, but you get the idea. So you can change all the angles just by manipulating this estaba, estabas, estaba, estábamos, and estaban. Here's another example for you, and you're going to see the exact same structure in the sentence repeating itself. So we have, I was talking on the phone when he arrived. This sentence is simpler than the last. But again, we have the background setting the scene. I was talking on the phone. That's the action that was ongoing at the time. Then we have our divider. When, here we have a dot in the past, he arrived. So you can see the same formula working. This action is a line in the past, setting the scene, saying what was ongoing right then in that moment. When you get a dot, some type of action or event occurred. So we would have, estaba hablando por teléfono, I was talking on the phone. Cuando llegó, when he arrived. You can see how I have the same structure. For example, we had here, I was walking down the street when I realized I didn't have my wallet. Okay, so scene and action separated by when. And here's the same thing. I was talking on the phone when he arrived. Here we have the scene. Here we have the action separated by when. Now again, this is the one that sounds natural. Estaba hablando. And this is what I think every native speaker I've heard, they would say it in this way. Estaba hablando por teléfono cuando llegó. You could do our hablaba por teléfono, but it wouldn't sound quite right. Again, you would be understood for sure, but it just doesn't sound natural. In this type of a sentence is a perfect example of when they would use this line ing tense. It just fits so perfectly. Now, a powerful thing is that you can also reverse the order of this sentence. So, for example, you could say, it happened when I was watching the TV, or while I was watching the TV. So here's our dot. It happened, whatever it was. And here's the scene, while I was watching the TV. So it's the same thing. The sentence is an action and a background separated by either the word when or while. Because in English, we could say either, right? It happened when I was watching the TV or happened while I was watching the TV. Both sound more or less natural in English. So to translate that, it would be pasó cuando, it happened when. And here you have the line, estaba viendo la televisión. So we have also mientras, because you could say while if you wanted to. Pasó mientras estaba viendo la televisión. Here you have the line ing happening. I was watching TV. So to summarize again, some action was ongoing at that time when something else happened. This is the typical structure where you will use the line ing or the past ing, as I call it, tense in Spanish. This is where it sounds most natural to use that. And in the next video, we're going to give you lots of practical examples so that you can try to do it yourself.